Timothy Chalamet is here, and, well, now, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
Man, thank you guys for having me. It's good to be here.
Well, it's good to see you.
In England.
Well, we should talk about Beautiful Boy. This is the movie that we went to see the other day, and your performance is just awesome. Timothy Chalamet is a BAFTA, Golden Globe, and Oscar nominee, and one of Hollywood's hottest young actors. Ooh. Because of his roles in films including Lady Bird, Call Me By Name, Interstellar, and from Friday, you can see Timothy in the powerful biopic Beautiful Boy. He plays a bright, picture-perfect son called Nick Sheff, who spirals into a serious crystal meth addiction. Now, this Nick Sheff guy was a real guy, right, who wrote a couple of books about his addiction. Am I right?
He's a real guy, and he's been sober for 8 years now.
Right.
After 13 relapses over 7 years when he was trying to get sober. There's 4 relapses in the movie. There was 13 in real life. There was a book tour for the book of which the movie is based on, Tweak, where he describes as well that he relapsed on the book tour. So this was not an easy fight. It's not the most uplifting movie in the world, but there is redemption and hope in the very fact that he's alive.
There's some very powerful performances. Carell is brilliant in it too. How difficult or easy was the role for you? You've got to be a bit method, haven't you, really, to do it?
Yeah, the method is in the pain of it all, and I think that's not foreign to any human. We all suffer. I think to act is like to channel it, I guess, in a way, but I had a mantra on my head when I was shooting this movie, and it was look for the light, because I figured it would be self-serving or defeating to an audience or something if it was like, yeah, drug addiction is bad. That's obvious. What's not obvious is it doesn't discriminate. It has no preferred class, race, or gender.
Yep.
And there is a stigma not only in the United States, I can assume it's in Great Britain as well, that it is a choice, that it means you're weak, and that it means you've messed up somehow in your life, when the reality is this affects everyone. And the substances now, as opposed to the 70s or 80s when marijuana was weaker or there weren't painkillers the way there are now, these are more powerful substances now, and there isn't the awareness around it still, weirdly.
Yeah, and initially we see the crystal meth thing. Describe the scene where we first see you doing it.
You see Nick ambiguously high a couple of times. You don't know necessarily on what. Then there's a diner scene with Steve Carell. This is how it happened in the book as well, where he's really high on methamphetamine. And that would come with all the characteristics of that. Agitation, physical agitation, exasperation, things moving a mile a minute.
Do you think people will feel sympathy for the character at all, or just with the father?
I think there's two sides to the coin, and I think the art takes place in the head of the audience member. And I've heard both reactions. I've seen people say, wow, I didn't realize I could sympathize with a character that objectively does some pretty, as Nick would say himself, does some pretty terrible things, steals from his family, breaks into his own home. And then conversely, what's the benefit of showing it through the lens of a young human being, or having a title metaphorically like Beautiful Boy, is to show this can happen to anyone.
It's a delight, by the way, to hear you, somebody like yourself, talking so passionately about this role. It clearly was very important to you at this stage in your career, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and I could, but I almost don't want to talk about it like in terms of career, because the subject matter is so important publicly that it feels like I'm the least relevant part to that equation. And yet, I had no career when I did this movie, so if you can be economically self-sufficient as an actor, as an artist, whether that means commercials, whether that means print jobs, whatever, you made it. You're paying your bills, and what are you doing? And when you're a kid, when you're 19 or 18 or 20, you're shopping for your personality, basically, in life. You're figuring yourself out. It's like being at a supermarket. You try this. It's kind of like when you're at school some days and a kid shows up in a weird outfit, and you're like, no, that's not you. you like scratch that for them. And with addiction, and having talked to young people that have gone through rehabs, your natural instinct, which is to explore, to be free, to be present, is in conflict with what your rehab instinct is, which is to look for your grounders, look for your routine. And hats off to anyone that's able to do it at a young age, because it really seems, especially when the substances are like methamphetamine or opiates, it seems like the hardest thing in the world.
We've been talking about the film. Let's just move on to you. What about you, Timothy? What made you get into acting? How did you do it? How did you make it there? What did you do?
From New York, so I feel like I grew up kind of in and around it, in Hell's Kitchen in the theater district. That's the theater district in New York. Come from an acting family. My mom was an actress. My grandfather was a screenwriter, but my dad's not at all from that world. And I think in a very healthy way kept my sister and I from it as long as possible.
Quite right.
Seriously. And I went to Performing Arts High School in New York, LaGuardia, basically, because that's where my family had gone, my family members, and I really fell in love with it there. It's basically the only thing I'm good at. I wouldn't know where I put all this energy if I wasn't doing that.
What was your first job?
First job, like first real job was Law and Order.
Okay.
And I played a dead body.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Wow.
With Anthony Anderson and Jeremy Sisto.
And then did it go after they saw your dead body? Did it go da-da-da,
Dun, dun.
da-da-da?
It is pre-credits. That scene is pre-credits. So I did feel like I made it because it was like, I'm about, no, good way, in a good way.
I think I remember that episode. You were the best dead
Yeah,
body
I've
ever.
ever seen.
You were just awesome.
I was so still.
Exactly.
You were
That,
still.
you should have got the Oscar for that.
I know. Oh, man.
And then from there, you get to do all these other movies. And yet, when was Beautiful Boy filmed then?
That was a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just going back to the film briefly, I was struck by the kind of attention to detail. Suddenly, the father's beard is, when it goes back in time, you look younger. I mean, you were the only actor in it, right?
No. They had 3
How
other
many of
mix.
you?
Actually, there was 5.
See, I told you, Bobby.
Well, you know, you said, well, obviously, there were the little ones.
The oldest one.
Yes, I was the oldest. Then there was 5. One of them didn't make it. One of them got cut.
Oh, really? Oh,
But then there's 3 other ones.
right. Okay. See, I told you.
Yeah, but those are the little ones. Not the same age.
I know, but he's not going to be able to play a 12-year-old.
Well, that just, I'm just
Prosthetics.
leaving it up.
Other way around.
Yeah, exactly. There is a scene, isn't there, where you are with your dad berating him for something that he's done in the past or not done. You were a bad father or whatever. You're so far away. That, to me, is quite interesting. The awareness and the non-awareness.
Well, that's the devastating prism of seeing this movie through the lens of a father, because we've had movies, amazing movies, Train Spotting and Heaven Knows What.
Yep.
These are movies that depict addiction in its rawest form. That's not what we're doing. We're showing it through the lens of a father or family member. And we know societally, culturally, that addiction is a negative thing, but we don't get from the perspective of a father or a step sibling or a sibling or a son or a daughter.
Yeah.
It can be devastating. And there are meetings and groups to support those who are relatives of people going through addiction.
So what are you doing in the future now? What are you working on at the moment?
So I'm going to do a Wes Anderson film called The French Dispatch.
Okay.
That I'm going to start next month. And then after that, I'm going to go shoot Frank Herbert's Dune with Denis Villeneuve.
Wow.
For 6 months or 5 months.
Great.
Yeah.
You happy? Everything's cool?
And all great. Thank you guys for having me. And, well, I don't know if this is the end. I was just saying that, but...
It is the end now.
Okay, all right. There you go. What was the British... There was This Is the End that came out in the States, and then there was the Edgar Wright movie that came out that same week.
That was
that was a
World's End.
World's End, yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. You like those dark movies, do you?
I do, yeah. I love Edgar Wright. I mean, his movies are just awesome. I wonder what he's going to direct next.
Well, yeah, he's a great director,
Yeah,
isn't he? Edgar
yeah,
Wright, yeah. You can see Timothy Chalamet in Beautiful Boy. It's in cinemas on Friday, rated 15. Good to see you, Timothy. Come by again, okay?
Thank you. Hey, thank you, guys.
Beautiful Boy. Go see.
Thank you, guys.